Hi, Ange Anderson here, therapeutic and technological advisor for children, well, for staff and parents of children who are neurodivergent. So I've been working on a new book lately for nursery staff, and that's yet to be published because, as you probably are aware, you write a book and then it takes publishers a year to actually put it out there in print. But while waiting for that, and obviously somewhat in relation to that, although this won't be in the book, this is available for free on my website. And it is based on the original VIP Play Skills profile by Caroline Smith in 2003, but adapted by myself in 2025 to support neurodivergent children in inclusive and therapeutic educational settings. This version is an independent adaptation and is not affiliated with or endorsed by the original author. This is created by myself, and it is available to download for free from my website. So let's have a look at it. Well, it's very similar to start off with the original Venture into Play profile, except that it does tell you in there that there is schematic play involved. So on the first page, I tell you straight away that there are different things in this profile. So in the original profile, it was suggested that a baseline profile be done on the children before a decision whether or not they would benefit from Venture into Play. But there wasn't a baseline profile in the original skills checklist. And so I created a baseline profile, an initial assessment here. So that's to help nursery staff and other staff in schools, and certainly staff in special schools and so on, to make a decision as to whether or not a particular child or some children would benefit from attending Venture into Play. Now, I say it like that because in my school, we set up a Venture into Play room. Now, it wasn't as big as a classroom, but it was a room that was full of different kinds of toys and games and dressing up clothes and so on and so on and so on. And these were all donated as needed new, or some were new, from staff, from parents, from governors, and some members of the public actually donated some things. So these were all in such good condition and ready to be used, so we could set it up immediately. So the school opened in 2009 and we had Venture into Play happening immediately. So you have to decide from the baseline profile whether a child needs to work as a one-to-one in the room or whether they can do small group work in the room. So it depends on the baseline assessment. And the baseline assessment will also tell you what kind of schematic play that child enjoys so that you can have those particular toys. So it might be connecting schema, and then you might have Lego and different blocks and so on and so forth. So anyway, let's get on with what's inside. So there is a social dimension, which there was in the original one, worded slightly differently now to keep up with today's children. And then there was in the original one a language development blank sheet. Well, now there's a language development sheet with cues for staff on what to look for. And then following on from that, hope you can't hear my dog barking in the background. Following on from that, enhancing the developmental dimension of play had half a page of information in the original one. This time it's got 1.5 pages of information. And then we move on to the developmental dimension itself in the skills profile, before we go on to enhancing the schematic dimension of play, because I've introduced the schematic dimension of play, as I've said. And then we actually do have the schematic play dimension checklist for you to fill in. And that follows on with Venture into Play summary sheet. And obviously it's totally different from the original one because we've included extra things in the profile, skills profile. But There are blank pages at the back because I'm expecting the staff member working with the child to do assessments and so on, and to keep them in the profile for the teacher back in class to use when they're writing reports and so on, and when they're deciding whether or not to carry on with the venture into play. Now, what you can do, and certainly what I've done in other therapies in the school I ran, is that you might have a 6 week session, you know, that it lasts for 6 weeks, and then they have a break, and then they might come back again. Or it might be that you decide that there's value to the person having it on a regular basis, or the small group having it on a regular basis throughout that school year. So, for instance, one of the little girls that benefited greatly from venture into play would go into the venture into play room with the staff member every morning, first thing, before she actually went into class for registration, because she found it very hard settling. But if she went into venture into play and played with the toys from It's a Small World, then she was more than ready to go into class and have the rest of the day with everybody else. And it made life easier for the staff in the class, and certainly for the other children and for the little girl herself. So that's one way of using it, as I've said. And another way of using it is by having small groups, so that they're learning how to play with others, and play parallel to others, and then to play with others. So I'm going to leave it there now, because I'm going to say to you, I'll try and leave a link below, but if you pop over to my website, angeandersontherapeutic.co.uk, you can get a free copy of this book. Okay, it's free on my website. So take the opportunity and go and get it for free. You can use it in your school, or you can use it at home with your child if you want to do that. It's entirely up to you, because it is free. Thank you for listening. Bye.